The second circular solid that we have to find the volume of is a cone. So a cone, if you will notice, has a circular base. It has a vertex, a point that from the edges of the circle come to it. You know what a cone looks like. Looks like an ice cream cone, okay? Now, a cone is related to a cylinder. If I had another cylinder with this same base and the same height, but it was a cylinder instead of a cone, it would take 3 of these cones to fill the cylinder, okay? 3 cones fill a cylinder with the same base and height. So, if the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h, and it takes 3 of these to fill it, what is its formula? Well, its formula is this. Volume equals 1/3 pi r squared h. So it's just like the cylinder. See the cylinder formula here, but it's 1/3 of it because it takes 3 of these to fill a cylinder. So we got to deal with this fraction. Not going to be a big deal. Just pay attention to what I tell you to do. Okay? So this first one says to use 3.14 for pi and round your answer to the nearest tenth. So we're going to write the formula, 1/3 pi r squared h. So 1/3 times, they tell us to use 3.14 here, times, what's my radius? I didn't identify my radius up here. Did they give me the radius? I think they did. They went from the center to the edge. So the radius is 3. So times 3 squared, and then the height of this cone, right here, the height is 14. So now I'm going to do 1/3 times 3.14 times 3 squared is 9 times 14. Now here's what I want you to do. This will make this a little simpler for your calculator. You're going to do all the multiplication first, okay? So you're going to do 3.14 times 9 times 14, and you get 395.64. And then what does it mean to take 1/3 of something? It means to divide by 3. So the last thing you're going to do is divide by 3, and you get 131.88, which is 131.9, and this is millimeters cubed because it's volume. Okay, so your last step, because of this 1/3, your last step is going to be to divide by 3. Okay, let's do the next one. Let's look, first of all, they gave me the diameter here, right? They gave me all the way across. So if the diameter is 4, what's the radius? You take half of it, and the radius is 2. So my volume is 1/3 pi r squared h. That's 1/3 times 3.14 times 2 squared times my height is 17. So 1/3 times 3.14, 2 times 2 is 4, times 17. Remember, do all that multiplication first. So in your calculator, 3.14 times 4 times 14. And you get 1/3 times 175.84. Your last step, since you're taking 1/3, is to divide by 3. So divide that by 3, and you get a big ugly decimal, but we're rounding to the nearest tenth. So I believe it is 58.6, and my units are feet cubed. All right, so these next ones are very similar, but they tell us to leave our answer in terms of pi. That means we're going to leave pi in the answer. That also means we're not going to divide by 3. We're going to leave this sort of fancy looking, okay? We're going to look like real mathematicians when we write this answer. First thing we got to do is identify our radius. Did they give me the radius? They did. From the center to the edge is 8, so my radius is 8. I'm going to write my formula, 1/3 pi r squared h. So that's 1/3. They want me to leave pi in the answer times my radius is 8 squared times my height is 10. Okay, so I get 1/3 times pi times 8 times 8 is 64 times 10. Now here's what we're going to do. We're going to do sort of like we did before. 64 times 10 is 640. We're going to put times pi, and then we're going to put it over 3 because we're dividing by 3. Okay? Check to see, does 3 go into 640 evenly? It doesn't. You get a big ugly decimal, so leave it looking like this. Doesn't that look fancy? 640 pi over 3, and then my units are centimeter cubed. If this were something that 3 divided, like if we got 27 over 3, we could divide that, but if it doesn't, just leave it. This is exact. We have not rounded anything. Okay? So let's look at the next one. The next one, notice they give me the diameter, right? They gave me all the way across. The diameter is 3, so I'm going to divide that by 2. And my radius is 1.5. Okay? My height is 8. So I'm going to write my formula. Then I'm going to start plugging in. I'm going to substitute. I'm not going to substitute for pi, so times pi times my radius is 1.5 squared times my height is 8. So now 1.5 times 1.5, I'm going to leave that pi alone. 1.5 squared is 2.25 times 8. Okay? So remember to do this multiplication first. So 2.25 times 8 is 18. 18 pi, nice that the decimal went away there, over 3. But look, 18 over 3, that cancels, right? That simplifies. So 18 over 3, this becomes 6 pi. Okay, so if it divides when you're leaving it in terms of pi, divide it. If not, leave it alone. Our units are meters cubed.